cool, right? So that went out. I'm not going to talk now. This has gone out to everyone, and then we're going to, you and me, show up in 5 minutes. I'll text you.
Okay, great. So I do
Yeah.
have time for coffee.
Yes, you do.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I took JT's advice.
Okay. Ready, set, go.
That's your guest room.
Yeah, welcome to the JT and Looney Podcast, episode Who Gives a Blank? We love this podcast. And I had a dream the other night because I used to go to bed watching Charlie Rose and he would help me sleep. And now I can't do that anymore. And I had a dream the other night that we were up for a podcast award. And in the category was Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, I'm dead serious, Stephen A. Smith, and us. And we won. And you had the sleeveless tux. I have my new tux. I have a tux. And we accepted the award, and everybody was in shock, except for our audience that knows that we do better jobs than those other people, and we're not mass produced.
Yes, and I believe you just recently tweeted out the AP rankings. We were number 15 in the country. That was fun. I got to retweet that. So that was a great list to be on. I was so happy we must have had a fan on the inside of those rankings, which was great. And it's just, there's so many times on a daily basis where I miss us going back and forth, either what we agree on or what we disagree on with all the things happening in sports in the world.
Yeah, I see Kurt, K-I-R-K, Ainge in my chat. I don't know if you have it. He says, the boys, I miss you guys on at night like back in the day. Hope all is well. Everything is great. I got a lot to catch up on. We haven't podcasted in a couple of weeks because my son graduated from college. My parents were in town. And you got a quick TV gig over in Carson.
Yes.
And you've been working busier than ever, not only being an award-winning news anchor in Los Angeles, but you got some side gigs that's probably going to pay for a European vacation.
Oh, well, what's really cool about this gig, it's for a helpful Honda. I'm working for Honda at what was the Home Depot Center, and now it's the Intuit Health Center or something. And it's where the Chargers used to play. For 26,000 people tomorrow night, LA Galaxy fans, and we're doing this 2-minute Honda infomercial skit. You know how people in basketball games try to hit a half-court shot for $1 million? It's that type of thing, but with some kids trying to kick some soccer goals. And yes, it does pay well. And we're limited to 2 minutes. How cool is that? So our whole entire gig is 2 minutes long, and that's kind of fun. You and I often talked about a documentary. I think it was called Joan Doing Work or something. It was about Joan Rivers, and she had this calendar, and she was always so paranoid about not working that she wanted something in her calendar every day, even if it was a gig at a dirty little stand-up place in Manhattan. And she only, except Thanksgiving Day, she didn't work on Thanksgiving Day. So I've got one of those calendars that I'm very proud of. That's really, and it just makes me paranoid when I have something not to do each day, which is a blessing for both of us, because I know your calendar's full, because after we got axed from Fox Sports Radio, you think, oh my God, I don't have a microphone and a camera. I'm lifeless. And now we're working more than ever.
Well, what's great about this is a lot there to cover. I still go through that issue. I don't have anxiety. I've never been to therapy. Nothing wrong with going to therapy.
No,
nothing at all. Not at all. I don't want to go.
It's these two people. But
I just have never gone. If we'd like a therapy sponsor, like on an app, if a therapy sponsor wants to sponsor us, I could fake that I go to therapy.
Quote Jerry Seinfeld, your neighbor growing up. JT, we both need a team of therapists in Europe working around the clock. That's what he told George one day. And I often think, yeah, same with me.
Well, my wife came up with the term Raider therapist. And it's a really good term for me because I need the Raider Nation as I go through Raider angst. Right. And the Raider Nation obviously needs me to walk them off the ledge from time to time. But what's interesting is the one thing that I haven't been able to conquer in radio. And last night was my 29-year anniversary on the radio. And I know I get over the top. My 30-year anniversary of the Jim Rome call, my 29-year anniversary. I give a shit about that. Yeah. I wanted to get to Fox Sports Radio and get a gold watch after 20 years. It was right there in front of me. It was taken away. When my dad retired, they'd had a big retirement party for him, and he got a watch. And I wanted that. And now the nights that I'm not on the radio, like the Knicks win, and I'm not on the radio, this platform is going to be a game changer for you and I.
Yeah.
Because we'll fix it and we'll get the Looney logo in there and we're going to do all this right. Mm-hmm. But we have a live radio show by pressing a button now. And congratulations to me who walked you through and got you on today. This is our radio show going forward for the scoundrel program directors who won't give us a radio show. Not that we need it. We're pretty busy. But this is our new show, as Damon Bruce told me about. Said, be patient. It takes a while to get your numbers up. But then once we get our numbers to where they want to be, Tom, this is going to explode for us.
Yeah, shout out to Damon Bruce. So happy his numbers are up, and he's doing it his way, which is really cool. A great talk show host, legendary San Francisco-based talk show host over the years. There's so much to unwrap there, but yeah, it's really fun doing our own thing going forward. The Knicks are incredible. It's been so much fun. Normally it's been so much fun watching the Knicks because I get excited for you and my other Knicks fan friends because there hasn't been a lot to get excited about since we were children with the Knicks.
Well, let me explain to you how important this is.
With linking it now to the 90s, the Knicks were like the Bills of the 90s.
Well, the Knicks have been really underachievers for a long time, since 72, 73. If you were following the Knicks in 72 and 73 like my father was when they won back-to-back titles and went through Jerry West, and Jerry West couldn't get by the Knicks, you would say, man, this is like a Steph Curry dynasty. They have Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe. They got future Senator Bill Bradley, Dave DeBusschere, Willis Reed. They were building to be a dynasty. And can you believe they've never won since? And yeah, the 90s, they ran into Jordan. They got to a championship round. They ran into, Olajuwon.
Right.
So, but now what's really struggling with me on this topic is the final four teams that are left really aren't very good. If this was your Shaq and Kobe Lakers, or your Kobe and Pau Gasol, or the Duncan five with Ginobili and Parker, or Steph and Clay, Bird and Magic's teams, I don't think I'm forgetting one more great team, the 89-90 Pistons, the bad boys. They would slaughter these teams.
Yeah. And
my Knicks are a mess.
Please don't forget, it gets left out all the time. The Kobe Powell Lakers went back to back 3 years in a row to the finals, winning 2 out of 3. They get left out of the conversation, and they shouldn't. And Ron Artest was on that team, locking everyone down.
Yeah, but a team like the Knicks, the other night I put out a video after they won.
It was great.
And I fell into the trap of Charlemagne and all the celebrities, and we never win nothing. And we haven't won nothing. And we're down 0-2, and we win this really good game. The fourth quarter was old school basketball, the type of hoops I like, physical, ref swallowing the whistle. And I ran into the backyard like I was 10 years old, and we didn't win shit. We didn't win anything. We're down 2-1. But Knicks fans are looking for crumbs. You're a Laker fan. You're not looking for crumbs. It's either every year it's championship or bust. For the Knicks, it's like getting out of a round, getting out of the semifinals, getting out of the Eastern Conference Finals. Those are crumbs to us, man. And we are living and believing that we're back in this series with a big game coming up later tonight. Whenever you're listening, you might be listening to this 3 or 4 days from now and the game is over. But I'm really excited about the Knicks, and they fought back in this series beautifully to win that game in Indy.
I got to make some recommendations because, I'm the king of watching 2-year-old documentaries and getting really excited about it. And since I know this is a shorter show, I want to get this in. And I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast. And if we have, then there's new people listening. I talked about the Gator. Oh, we did talk about this because you're not the biggest fan of Urban Meyer, which I am now, and I wasn't.
Yes.
And Tim Tebow is amazing, and I know he's one of the greatest college football players ever. There's no newsflash there, but love him more now than ever after seeing what was the name of the goddamn? I was talking about the
Swamp Kings.
Swamp Kings. And I also mentioned before the Johnny Manziel documentary. Both of those things are so honest and brutal, and you'll find out more about Urban Meyer that you didn't before, and even if you didn't like him, you'll find out things that you do. Mm-hmm. And like about him. Coaches are amazing guys and leaders of young men and children, and sometimes they make mistakes and regret them. And he talks about a lot of that, and why bad guys ended up playing on his team because he didn't want to. He had a player commit suicide once after cutting him, and he never wanted to cut a bad guy again and give him 2 and 3 chances. That's an amazing. And I watched also. I know this is in your wheelhouse, surprisingly for some people probably. I finally watched, was it season 6 of The Crown?
Yeah, The Crown's magnificent.
Oh my God.
The Crown is magnificent. The Crown, I'm the only man on the planet, the only man. And if you count India and China, there's billions of people. Right. I'm the only man who watched the original View The View, the first day it aired with Barbara Walters. I watched the entire Downton Abbey series and the movies, the 2 movies, and I watched The Crown. And The Crown is so magnificently shot. The cinematography is some of the best I've seen in my life.
Well, let me add an adjective there because I need corrections and retractions. You're the only heterosexual man who watched Downton Abbey and all that other crap. But it's The Crown was, and so I'm here as Captain Obvious 2 years late on a few of those. But there's so much. We're in the glory days, the golden age of movies and television and TV shows that are like movies and series that are where Game of Thrones and The Crown. That, appreciate the grass, but don't have golden age syndrome and say it was better way back when. Well, the grass is green now. And how about this? Going to the movie theater is back. The death of going to the movie theater has been greatly exaggerated. Fake news, the biggest Memorial Day weekend in the history of Northern American cinema with that kids movie. And
Lilo and
Stitch, and with Mission Impossible.
Yeah, we're going to go see Mission Impossible later this week. I got my annual trip to Chicago on Thursday and Friday for Mike Ditka's Gridiron Greats. And we're probably going to try to go Wednesday night to see Cruise, or my sons who are movie buffs are like, Dad, wait another week and we'll go a Tuesday, Wednesday night, or Wednesday, Thursday night. And the theaters will be,
it'll be
much more emptier. There's, we would win an award if we did a show on documentaries that were 2 years old, then we were recapping them. Now we'd be the best at that. I want to throw one in, if you don't mind, which I think is going to have a really big impact on you personally. I'm watching the 100-Foot Wave on Max. The 100-Foot Wave is a documentary. I thought it was 1 season. I think it's 2 or 3. I'm into season 2. It's about Garrett McNamara, one of the greatest big wave surfers ever. And lives in Hawaii, and he surfs Jaws and Mavericks up in the Bay Area. And he basically found the greatest wave and the biggest wave of all time in Nazaré, Portugal. And he went there to Portugal to surf this wave above a lighthouse. If you just Google Nazaré surf, the biggest waves in the world documented are in Nazaré. And it's on a cliff, and the waves break 100 foot high into rocks. It's insanity. And he basically discovered it and went there. And now fast forward 7, 8, 10 years later, the greatest surfers in the world live there. They spend 4 months a year during wave season to start the year off there. And it ties into his mental health. It ties into his family, the love of his wife, his kids, his brother-in-law. It's really well done. And I love it, and I can't stop watching it because of the unbelievable additions to shooting waves. Remember when we were kids, the guy would be in the water with the camera floating up and down. Now it's drones, man. These drones get to the 80 feet mark of the wave, can measure them, and they dive in with the surfers. It's a magnificent show. I just can't turn it off.
So it's better than ABC's Wild World of Sports coverage of the surfing competition in Hawaii that we watched as a kid.
This is just an incredible sports documentary.
I'd love to see.
And I don't know how Garrett McNamara turned out to be the first. He surfed at one point the biggest wave ever, an 80-foot wave in Nazaré, and then other guys are trying to break the record and get to the 100-foot wave. And what I like about the discipline of this documentary, which is incredible, surfing's all about patience. You sit on a cliff, or there are days you can't, and they had a big COVID hook to this where they weren't allowed in the water. Oh my God, did we fuck that up? Whatever you think about a mask, I wore a mask. I was in Allegiant Stadium with a mask, with games. They didn't let people in the water for a year in Portugal to surf. And it's just great. If you get a chance, watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, see if it hooks you.
I love it. Remember, I used to live on the beach in Venice, and there's so many, and surfing is not for you and me, if I may project, because it involves patience. And that's actually what always drove the radio show, impatience. A follow I've been enjoying on Instagram, Sailing with Phoenix. Have you heard about
What
this?
is that? I'm on the gram at JT the Brick LV. I'm new to the gram, but I'm on the gram. What's it called again?
Oh my, Looney on TV. It's called Sailing _ with Phoenix. Now, if you want to go back to the Hot Tub Time Machine, remember, no matter who we had on the show, even if it was the Pope, I would yell at them if they had an underscore on their Twitter handle, because underscores drive me crazy. He's a guy that 29 years old, never sailed before in his life.
I heard this.
Watched on YouTube, took lessons on YouTube on how to sail, bought a sailboat with his cat, and he was diagnosed with some health issue and said, well, I'm tired of 9 to 5 cubicle, kind of like you did when you took off your 9 to 5 cubicle job to dive in as a talk show host. He dove into the ocean with a sailboat and sailed from Alaska, I think, or Seattle, to Hawaii. Just got there. And
he had a cat, right? He has a cat.
Yeah, Phoenix is the cat. Yeah, and I hope he keeps sailing. Now he's celebrating and patting himself on the back for 3 days in Oahu, so it's not as interesting. But it's I love, when sometimes we tie ourselves too much, and you and I are totally guilty of it too. We tie ourselves too much to what we do rather than who we are. And sometimes we let go of that and sail across the ocean. You can learn a lot about yourself and life.
Can I bring this back to me for a second?
Yes, of course.
So last night when I did this 29-year anniversary Memorial Day show, and I tweeted our mutual friend who represents me and helped us in the beginning of my career, it was pretty unique feeling I had last night when I was finished, because I'm the only person ever in the history of radio, ever. Not Larry King, not George Norrie, not Stephen A., not Colin.
Not Art Bell or Dr. Laura?
No. Not even Art Bell and Dr. Laura. I'm the only person in radio history to do 29 years in a row on Memorial Day. And my wife said to me, are you sure about that? And I said, yes, because the 1999 Memorial Day miracle, when Sean Elliott hit the shot, it's one of the greatest moments in Spurs history. I was there courtside with Andrew Ashwood, and we had to leave, and I had to go do a show. And I remember going, oh, my God, I want to have my vodka, and I want to have my tacos, and I want to go out. And I had to go to work. And 2005, 2011, 2019, 2022, and last night, again, working on Memorial Day. So Mike and the Mad Dog, Jim Rome, they don't have to work on Memorial Day. That's the hook before I slam myself, that no one will ever touch that record. And I want a trophy. I want a fucking trophy for that. And I'm here to make an announcement on this show, which is going to be our big download. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to take off Memorial Day. I think a caller called me last night and said, if I started in 96 on Memorial Day and I did this show last night, now this is really important. Break out your calculator, because I don't do this well. I started in 96. That was year shows. 1.
Yeah.
It wasn't year 0. It was year 1. And then last night I completed the Memorial Day show. How many shows did I do? Someone in the chat help me. I started in 96 Memorial Day. I finished last night Memorial Day. Is that 29 shows or is it 30?
Well, yeah, you can count on your fingers and figure it out, but I pretty much that's 30. That's 30 because, like you said, it wasn't year 0 when you started. And you don't have to end on a round number. I know we're obsessed with round numbers.
Yeah, why are we?
You feel better that you're going to stop at 30 or 29. What's the difference? And another reason I know why you're stopping is because you just realized that the anniversary should probably be when you won the smack off and not necessarily. Isn't that the reason? The Memorial Day, correct?
Yeah, and you made a good point about round numbers. I mentioned our time at Fox. I was there for 17 and a half years. Well, I can't round that up to 18.
Right.
There's 17 and a half. So round numbers are really important in this country, and to our new president who's going to take over the Washington Monument in the Mall for our 250th and tie it into his birthday or something, because it's a round number, Tom. When I had we had our fraternity reunion a couple of years ago, it was 150. Our entire fraternity showed up for it. Like guys who were in their 80s and 90s came back. And then the following year, no one showed up for 151.
Right. Exactly. And I've always pointed that out to you. We do it with either with wonderful things or with 9/11 or JFK, whatever it is. We make a bigger deal if it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 than we do if it's number 7. And remember once there was a great PBS special on Ronald Reagan. And Michael didn't do it. And we have both worked with Michael over the years. And I said, you didn't participate. And I was a little worried about asking him because sometimes the adopted son wasn't always doing things with the others. He was the oldest son. And he said, well, it was his 76th birthday or something. He said, I just didn't feel like I needed to do a 76th anniversary. And so he didn't like, since it wasn't a round number, he didn't participate in his dad's PBS special. So yeah, we do have this odd fetish for round numbers in America, as we do for many things, as a lot of foreigners will tell us.
So a couple of things on the calendar here for the summer edition of the JT and Looney podcast. The good news is we're going to podcast pretty aggressively. I'm going to try to take some time off. The new thing about the NFL calendar in Vegas is really important. The Raiders have like mandatory events that just happen, OTAs, organized team activities, OTAs. And because Pete Carroll's a first-year coach with the Raiders, and any team that has a first-year coach with the new team gets added time to practice. So then coming up here in a couple of weeks, everyone in the NFL shuts it down. Everybody goes home. Coaches take their final vacation. Wives book trips. The league goes dark. And I think we're going to go back. Wife and I want to go back to Boston, see everybody in Long Island, see my folks in New Paltz.
And when is that? Approximately.
Probably, around the 4th of July.
Okay.
Because you got to get out of Vegas because we go from 105 to 115. Right. And 105 feels like 90. And 110 feels like 100. But 115 feels like 115. That's when the alarm goes off. Right. And my kids are at the house and the dog and everything's fine. So we're not doing anything crazy. But how's your summer schedule look like?
Oh, my God.
Looney summer.
Wonderful summer schedule. My niece is graduating high school on June 20th. I'll be there for that and for the big party on June 22nd. And my niece graduating second in her class.
Wow.
And I had to
let me interrupt you for a second. Is that a disappointment? Because we got some valedictorians on my wife's side. Okay. I guess my wife's first cousins, I don't know what my title would be with them, but they literally are valedictorians at Lincoln High School. I never asked a person, what's it like to come in second?
Yeah,
Does that kind of suck?
My brother came in third. No one remembers the third. Do you remember the third guy who circled the moon while Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were walking on it? No, Michael Collins is his name. And I looked it up so I can bust my brother's balls when I give a little speech at my niece's graduation. I called her and told her this is what the number 2 is really important in her life. I'm glad she graduated as the salutatorian because I've always told her when she was growing up, very extroverted when she was younger, especially loved to stage. So my brother, who's more introverted, certainly knew somebody who liked microphones and stages. So he realized we did have it in the family. It just wasn't him. And I always told her that she was the second most talented person I know. And the second funniest person I know.
You're something.
Now I told her now she's the second smartest person I know. So she's got to really embrace the number 2. And she just tied for May Queen. So another 2 in her life. So I told her how 2 is really important. And it's really a number in her life. And so I'm even more happy for her that she graduated second rather than first.
One other big topic that I want to give you, because I want to make sure this is a big topic for you in LA, to remind everybody how close you live to Dodger Stadium. You really can't walk, but you could take your bike, right?
Well, yeah, and I could see the fireworks. That's how close.
That's how close you are.
They do Friday night fireworks, win or lose, and you can see them out the kitchen window.
So I want to give you a fun topic because you were around a lot of Dodger fans. Mm-hmm. You've always told me since we've been working together that the show is today.
Yeah.
The show wasn't last week, and this isn't a week from now. It's today, May 27th, 2025. So let me tell you about this for baseball. Today, Aaron Judge is batting .398, which is incredible because he's not Rod Carew, Tony Gwynn, and George Brett. Right. He doesn't get any slap hits the other way. He doesn't drag bunt. This is a slugger. He's got 47 RBI and 18 home runs. So he's batting .398. And as you always tell me, scroll down. Shohei Otani is batting .295.
Oh, they have page
as
down.
Of today.
Yeah, like when you're looking for Danica Patrick when she was in the Daytona 500, page down.
So we're going to get to Danica. That's our last topic, and it's not a good one.
Really?
398 for Judge. Otani, who homered again last night, 295. That math to me is Judge is 103 points above Otani. 103. Now, there was a year that Ted Williams batted 406. You remember that in the history books, right?
Yes.
DiMaggio won the MVP because what did he do? He had a 56-game hitting streak. Imagine losing the MVP because you batted 406, but you lost it. So my issue becomes there is no comparison in May heading into June with Judge and Otani. There's no comparison. Otani doesn't pitch. Fact, not fiction. He doesn't pitch. Number two, he doesn't field his position. He plays DH. Judge fields his position, and there's 100-point differential. So Otani's going to come back, Tom, and have a great year, and he'll probably cut it to 20 or 30 points. But can we please give Judge his roses, because Dodger fans keep making fun of him for dropping a ball that hit his glove, and that's the only defense these Dodger fans have when I bring up this topic. Well, they send me a meme of Judge dropping a ball. That's really all you got, Doya fans?
Well, there are times you have to remember when the Rolling Stones or the Beatles didn't have the number one song because the Lovin' Spoonful did, right? So congratulations, Aaron Judge gets the Lovin' Spoonful award.
Very good analogy. Very good analogy. I mean, right there, you could be a writer on the Herd with that analogy. Put you on the Fox lot for some bagels and coffee. You can get a pension for writing those analogies.
Thank you.
Wow. That's a good one.
Oh man! But enjoy it, Mr. May. He gets the Clayton Kershaw Award. He's Mr. May.
It's really funny you're saying that because he is kind of becoming Mr. May. So the last topic is a little bit uncomfortable, and I wanted some clearance from you.
Okay.
Go on the radio on this topic because we're talking Aaron Rodgers today a little bit because he's holding the city of Pittsburgh hostage. Right. Imagine the balls on this guy. This is the Steelers, the Yunzers, as you like to say. Mm-hmm. He's basically telling him that he'll let him know when he wants to play. So the news this weekend is Danica was at the Indy 500, and I had Chris Myers on last night. Oh, my God. Bucket list. He anchored the Indy 500 for the first time. Wow. He was great. And I didn't bring this up, but Danica went off by saying about her relationship with Aaron Rodgers, emotionally abusive. And whenever a woman says she was domestically violated or emotionally abused, I believe the woman. I don't believe I believe them. But this was interesting because she's a celebrity and she's a star. And she said on the Sage Steele podcast about the relationship with Aaron Rodgers, the nature of the relationship was emotionally abusive. So that wore me down to nothing. Everything was torn to bits. He leaves a trail of blood. I don't think I'm saying too much earth-shattering stuff. There's been enough out there. Wow, you do news for a living. A trail of blood? She was never domestically violated. He never put her hands on her from what I've seen. How should Aaron Rodgers handle this topic, which is a firestorm building?
Oh, leave it. It's tough for him because
interesting.
You leave it too often. You don't have to react to everything. That's really important in life. And we've had jobs where we have to react to everything. So it may be partially hypocritical advice based on what we do. But no, we don't always have to react to everything. And he should take the high road and say, oh my God. And because, when you do have breakups and, there's no fine line between love and hate. I've always preached that. We learned antonyms in first grade. Whoever said that the first time was just trying to justify their own bad behavior. And breakup, everyone should be a good breaker-upper because there is no fine line. So he should take the high road and say, I'm so sorry for what I put her through. I remember her very fondly with our relationship. Take the high road.
Great.
Yep. And just leave.
That's a great topic. You just built a topic for me on that because he's not wired that way. Oh my God. He's like Kevin Durant. He's got burner accounts.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how many DMs I slid into over the weekend where people said bad things about me and I slid into their DMs and go, hey, I'm right here, man. And they're like, whoa, oh my God, what's that? Oh, no, it's me. The guy you was saying shit about. I just slid into your DMs and said, hello, I'm right here. And Aaron Rodgers is wired like me. He can't let this go. He's Aaron Rodgers. Danica Patrick said trail of blood and emotionally abusive. This guy's trying to get married eventually. He wants to be a dad. How would you like to be the next girlfriend saying, oh my God, my girlfriend just told me read this about Danica Patrick. I'm dating you, Aaron. Now, what are you going to do to me?
Well, maybe he should address that. Maybe he's just clarify that there's not necessarily a trail of blood, but there's certainly a trail of tears. We had a tough breakup. Something that addresses that maybe because that metaphor could be taken the wrong way. So maybe he should clarify that part of it, but just say nice things. Not that hard. It's just as easy. Actually, it's just as easy in life to tweet something nice and say something nice. It takes just as much energy as it does to punch back hard.
Okay, I got a triple today. 1 down, 2 to go. I got the local show noon to 2, Raider Nation Radio, live on the Raiders mobile app. You don't have to pay for it. And then I got a Mad Dog show tonight as the Knicks game's wrapping up. That's right. That's my fucking wheelhouse right there. I got a show on. Knicks are wrapping up. I'm live on a really big platform. Very appreciative of that. So I'm excited about that. And then
I always loved the part of the show where you pat yourself on the back. Oh
yeah, I don't do that much. But it's funny you say that. And I just said and I never say I'm like a Kardashian. Let me correct myself. Edit that, please. If I don't pat myself on the back for a 29-year anniversary or Sam doesn't put out the 30th show, some of the bosses that we worked for yelled at us when we put out things that said we accomplished something.
Oh, I know.
Like berated us. So if I don't tell people, hey, last night I did 29 consecutive years on Memorial Day, some rogue former program director isn't going to put that in a blog and say, hey, by the way, this guy JT the Prick in Vegas did 29 years in a row on Memorial Day. It's silent. So everyone, and when I do charity work, Ditka's Gridiron Greats as we raise money for mental health and awareness for former players. Lon Kruger coaches versus cancer with the American Cancer Society. And what I've been doing there, if I don't mention it, Tom, then people won't hear about it. So I'm a big believer on light pat on the backs around charity season. This is the charity ball season for me, as you're aware.
Oh, my God, that's so funny. In Catholicism, you lose your graces when you remind people all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Where's Pope Leo, by the way? I was hoping to see Pope Leo every day. I want more and more Pope Leo. He's a humble man of God. He showed up on the balcony. He accepted his popedom. It was great. His brother's a wackadoodle. He's got a nut job brother in Chicago. I mean, nut. But I'm going to Chicago. Maybe I'll take the tour of Pope Leo's childhood home. I think it'd be pretty
cool. Is cool. And, I had some missionary. I didn't want to be a priest, but I always had aspirations of being a missionary. Although as I looked into it, and I did look into it, Peace Corps.
You did.
Yeah, but it's much more advantageous if you have a background like engineering, if you can help them build a sewer or build a water system. I didn't really have a lot of the tools that can help other than I can lift heavy things. So I decided not to do it. So I really have a great admiration for him. And he's the Bishop of Rome now. So he's Roman now. So we're probably not going to see him as much and hear as much English as we would like.
Tom, someone in the chat said, JT, is Aiden O'Connell now the number 2? Can you explain to everyone that this is the JT and Looney podcast and not my Raiders radio show? Can you explain the difference on why I love to podcast with you and not have to talk about the backup quarterback for the Raiders, at least on this platform?
Well, yes, because this is the JT and Looney podcast. We're JT and Looney, pretty much talk about JT and Looney. Pat ourselves on the back and talk about all the great documentaries that came out 2 years ago, and the New York Knicks and the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is, as Tom Likas used to say, this is the show we talk about the things here that I cover. Oh yeah, I say, as I say on my Twitter, I report, I decide, you listen. And that's it. So we report, we decide, and you listen, and we talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I want to give a little bit of advice if there's a young broadcaster here, because there always is. You've got young guys who wanted to just turn on your machine, grab a Yeti microphone like this, which actually is working great today. Headset is good. I have Astrum headsets. This is the newest headset in the world. You know, when you see the DJs perform in front of 300,000 people.
Yes, my
This
nephew
right here,
is a DJ. Yes.
This is one of the greatest headsets. I'm promoting them now. So if you go to Astrum, ASTRUM, Tech, TECH,
What makes them so great?
Astrum noise cancellation. So I have the earbuds that you go walk in the park with. You walk the Husky, and it's scary. Like, you cannot hear traffic. You cannot hear anything. It's that perfect. So if you go to astrumtech.com and put in JT, you'll get 20% off. We nailed it today. We sound good. We feel good. Everything is good here, man. And I think this is going to be, you're going to kill me. This is going to be a step forward in our podcast world until I start screaming and my wife comes down the stairs. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, Looney's mic doesn't work, or I can't hear Looney, and we have to shut everything down. Let's take advantage of what we pulled off today.
Absolutely. And, my nephew is a star DJ in Los Angeles. Every once in a while, you might see in my stories, there's this young guy, and you're wondering, doing all that DJing that you hate, that you've mocked over the years, and a popular DJ in LA. So I've become a fan of him and dubstep and all the kind of electro pop and all the stuff that he's doing up on stage. And so,
I'll take you to Zed. Over at Resorts World at Zook, and I'll take you to see Zed, Z-E-D. I think it's Z-E-D-D.
Is it Zed's Dead or Zed?
Zed, Z-E-D.
Okay.
He's the biggest DJ.
Like a band called, or a DJ called Zed's Dead. I don't know if it's a band or a DJ.
And we still have Tiesto out here and Steve Aoki, right? We have the Chain Smokers, and I know you were liking the Chain Smokers.
What about Dada Live? Does Dada Live still have a residency there?
I have not seen Dada Live.
Okay.
I have not seen Dada Live, but thanks, everybody. I'm going to jump on another platform, my radio show. Tom's going to do a lot of great things today, and let's knock out a JT and Looney podcast for the NBA Finals. Does that sound good? We'll have a date for that.
Oh, God, yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Well,
although for me, it'll be like a funeral because the Lakers won't be in the NBA Finals. Let's hope let's hope the Knicks are.
Well, if it's Oklahoma City and Indiana, literally no one will watch.
Oh my God.
Like, no one will watch. If it's the Knicks will deliver a massive, massive audience in the number one media market, which moves the needle. And Oklahoma City's a really good team, and maybe people watch that, but people are not going to watch Indiana take on Oklahoma City unless they're NBA nerds. And there's probably a bunch of those out there, but not enough to get a rating.
And, a lot of times the person who wins the Oscar, if it's their first nomination, they usually don't get her if they're the new kid on the block. So congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder, because they're doing what a lot of new teams on the block, the new shiny objects, don't do. And that's win and go all the way to the finals if they do.
Thanks for listening and watching the JT and Looney podcast.